Hello and welcome back. It's been a while. Sorry it's been so long. I've been really busy with some stuff, but I'm really glad to be back. Now, as you might have guessed from some of my previous videos, I'm a fan of both LEGO and Star Wars. So I thought talking about these two things would be a good way to get back into it. Now you can bet I was ecstatic when LEGO announced their Star Wars theme at the 1999 New York Toy Fair, even though I wouldn't be born for another 6 months. There's a lot I could talk about when it comes to LEGO Star Wars. There's the theory that Star Wars is what saved LEGO. There's the greatest video game of all time. There was the time everybody bullied LEGO into making a set. Then there was the time that there was mass hysteria as everyone tried to get the set that they bullied LEGO into making, with some people buying hundreds of them. The whole debacle could actually warrant its own video. Today, however, I just wanted to talk about the Star Wars sets that came out this year. I know I'm pretty late to the party here, but I have some of my own thoughts on them. So bear with me, or don't, but I'd be happier if you did. There's a bit of controversy surrounding the sets that came out. Actually, there's quite a bit of controversy in just about anything that has to do with LEGO. But I just want to talk about these specific sets that came out in January, and this one that is set to be released in March. Now for all of you non-LEGO normies, let me get you up to speed. In the second half of 2020, a list of the 2021 sets and their prices was released. Now there weren't any pictures included in that list, only the names, piece count, and price. There were 3 sets that got a lot of people's attention. There was set 75300, which was a TIE Fighter, for $40, and also the model I am currently building. Set 75301, which was Luke Skywalker's X-Wing, for $50, and set 75302, which was an Imperial shuttle, for $70. Now I wouldn't blame you for not seeing the issues with these sets. They're standard Star Wars ships, right? Well, that's kind of one of the issues. A lot of LEGO Star Wars fans wanted more sets that weren't from the original trilogy. Another issue was the previous version of all 3 of these sets cost quite a bit more. In some cases, nearly double. Without the pictures, a lot of people were worried that these sets were going to be subpar versions of sets that were still out on shelves as recently as 2019, which was the last main issue that people had. Most of these models were available very recently. At the time, these were valid fears and criticisms, although I think a lot of people overreacted.
This is actually a real shame. Whoever decided on this should be ashamed of themselves. LEGO's killing everyone, dude. I've been bombarded with comments of when do I think we'll get this? When do I think we'll get that? The answer is I don't know, and clearly LEGO doesn't give a crap either. None of these are gonna ever happen because LEGO clearly doesn't care. That being said, a $40 TIE Fighter is probably going to look comparatively terrible, and people are gonna complain about it, so prepare for that. That's basically the January list. That's awful. I'm gonna be straight up honest. I am not excited about that whatsoever. This is bad. This is really bad. This is the worst rumor list I think I've seen in a long time. This is really bad. There are no Clone Wars sets, and nobody is going to be happy about that, because I think this is going to be an absolute disaster for LEGO. There's nothing. It's all going to be downsized, remakes, and no Clone Wars. Nothing.
Fast forward a few months, and the pictures of the X-Wing and TIE Fighter were released. And lo and behold, they weren't terrible. In fact, they were actually pretty decent. They weren't the most accurate versions of the ships we've seen, but they looked pretty good for being nearly half the price of the models before. Some people still weren't happy because, again, they were just models from the original trilogy. And again, that's a somewhat valid criticism, however I think the LEGO group knew what they were doing. I really think that this first half of the year was a test. A sort of trial run to see how people would react to more iconic ships, but at a far lower price point. When the sets were first announced, I was actually pretty excited. The last regular LEGO TIE Fighter I owned was this one from 2005. It looks pretty dated by today's standards, and even back then, it wasn't great. I mean, it's not even the right colors. I didn't get the previous, most recent version because $70 was a lot to pay for one TIE Fighter, especially for a senior in high school. And if you wanted an X-Wing to go with it, then it would cost you a total of $150. I think it's fantastic that you can get both of these sets for only $10 more than the last X-Wing. Another great thing about the cheaper price point is for people that want more than one model for whatever reason. A lot of fans like to build armies, and it's a lot easier to do that at this new cost. The TIE Fighter is especially good for this. It doesn't have any named characters, which makes it perfect for army building. The models look really nice too, so you have something you can still be proud of to display. I was a bit skeptical myself at how good the models would look at their new price points, but when the pictures were released, I was really pleased with how they turned out. I personally prefer the TIE Fighter over the X-Wing, but they both look pretty darn good. I could nitpick at both of them, but at the end of the day, they're not meant to be perfect movie accurate models. They are meant for children. And if you're really looking for that level of detail, go look for a model kit instead. Now that doesn't mean that the LEGO models are immune to criticism, but in my opinion, any of the issues with this model are really quite minor. I guess the whole reason I made this video was because I was getting annoyed with people complaining about these sets. People are forever complaining that LEGOs are too expensive. LEGO responded to that with these cheaper sets, and people just complain about how we just got these sets. We want sets from X series. Or they complain about how the previous versions were better. LEGO had to pick popular ships to try this with, so obviously they're going to pick the most famous ships from the most famous movies, and at the lower price, it's not going to be as detailed. Ultimately, if you don't like it, they're LEGO, so they're really easy to modify compared to other media. And if you don't want to do that, then don't buy it. I am just so sick of them complaining about how LEGO doesn't listen to their fans. They do. The most vocal of them don't represent the entire fan base. And y'all are just impossible to please. Okay, I'll step off my soapbox now. Honestly, I could make a whole series of videos devoted to stupid things LEGO Star Wars fans, or just LEGO fans in general, complain about. Anyway, I don't think they could have planned the timing of this any better. From what I can figure out, LEGO designed sets 1 to 2 years before they release. Releasing cheaper sets during a year when a lot of people have been affected financially by, well, you know. Now that's some incredible timing. Almost suspiciously incredible. Now I'm not saying LEGO predicted any of this, and I'm definitely not saying they deliberately caused this. But I am heavily implying it. Okay, but in all seriousness, I am really excited for the future of LEGO Star Wars. According to rumors, this trend is going to continue into the summer wave of sets. And yes, you're gonna get your Clone Wars sets too. One of the rumored sets is said to be a Slave 1 for $50. That's $70 cheaper than the one that came out 2 years before. I am stoked for that. I haven't ever been able to afford a Slave 1, but I've always kinda wanted one, and at only $50, I will likely be picking this one up. If I like how it looks, of course. I really hope this new trend continues. This could open up the door for sets that were originally unlikely to happen due to cost and demand. I would love to see them do a TIE Bomber, a B-Wing, or a Millennium Falcon at this lower price. And these lower costs of iconic ships also mean that the hobby is more accessible to others. More than likely, if you're going to start collecting, you're going to want to start with the most famous ships. Overall, I think this is a really great thing, and anyone who disagrees is wrong and can suck a lemon.